Lise Colucci. I'm one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. Hello, good afternoon. Today we're going to talk about sociopath versus narcissist. Somebody asked me, I'm going to turn this off here. Just going to close this crazy thing so it doesn't make noise. There we go. Hi, somebody asked the question was, what's the difference between a sociopath and a narcissist? So we're going to talk about that. Hi, Life's a Journey. How you doing? Talk about that today. If you have any need for help for narcissistic abuse recovery, head over to queenbeing.com. Obviously, there is lots of info over there. If you would like texting notification of my going live, text me at 33222. Put the word Lise Live, LISE, hit send. And I will text you about 10 minutes before being live. Hello, everyone. Saved by Grace, Jeep and Gypsy, Jack. Life's a Journey. How are you doing today? What are we? Tuesday today. Excuse me. So, yeah, let's get started with this. If you've not hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up. Let's get moving toward understanding today, which is the difference between sociopath and a narcissist. All right. So, first of all, let me start off by saying I can't diagnose anyone. We're not here to diagnose anyone. We're just here to understand traits so that we can stay safe from toxic behavior. Can't diagnose anyone in our own lives. We're not qualified to do so. I am not qualified to do so. And frankly, it doesn't really do much different. It's not going to change anything to know somebody's diagnosis, in the sense that if they are abusive and they are being toxic to you with toxic behavior and treating you terribly, and you are feeling trapped and alone in a relationship, then it is time to do something about it and move on if you can, right? So this isn't about my dogs are at the door because they're locked out, so we'll see what happens. This isn't about labeling or actually thinking that we can diagnose anyone else, just as a start. Okay, so I kind of thought, here they come. I kind of thought malignant narcissists were the same as sociopaths. They are, because, and I'll go into that too. It's similar, there are similarities. Hi, you and I. All right. Hey guys, my dogs are gonna go. They're super excited this afternoon. You can hear them on the floor. Anyway, hang on a second. We're gonna stop this 1 second. All right, so we're totally stopping that. That was getting wild. Woo! It was like afternoon play. As soon as they settle down, we'll be good. Okay, he took the ball. It's all good. Okay, let's get going. So, narcissist and a sociopath. All narcissists are not sociopaths. I believe, from what I've read, all sociopaths are narcissists or fall within the narcissistic spectrum. They have narcissistic traits and most likely also have NPD as well as a diagnosis. A narcissist driving force is self-interest. It's self-protection of the ego, and it is self-interested, and the lack of empathy means that everything is related to and directed to that by that self interest focus. So a sociopath is actually a person who gets off on the bullying, the control, the manipulation, and the damage that they cause. So a narcissist may not be aware in the sense of they're aware, maybe because people have told them, but the lack of empathy means they don't have the feeling associated with understanding what they're doing is hurting someone else. And while they may be aware of it and callous and cold to it, they aren't actually deriving pleasure off of it. They're just basically, I get my way or I don't get my way. I want my way. I'm a narcissist. I must have my way, right? Everything is directed their way. A sociopathic person is, they actually enjoy the punishing. They have a sadistic quality to them that enjoys all of that. So, hey, Web Education, it has been a long time. How are you? Your grandson just asked you last night what a sociopath, and heard the term on TV. Okay, so people with sociopathy often have been diagnosed as well as antisocial personality disorder. often. So some of the more my dog is fully distracting me. Some of the more distinguishing features are there's a deceitfulness, a callousness, risk-taking behavior, obviously the lack of empathy. There's an impulsiveness, they are incapable of true intimacy. They may seek out your intimacy to come towards them, but they are incapable of reciprocating intimacy. If you've ever been with one, you know what that's like. All right. Hello, Kira. All right. They lack real awareness of others, yet they understand that it hurts others, if that makes sense. Because of the lack of empathy, the awareness is different. They can appear likable and hiding the truth. A narcissist, straight up NPD, while a covert narcissist may have some of that hiding the truth to them, it's extreme with the sociopath. So basically, it's a more extreme behavior than we always talk about. And again, we can't diagnose people and everything. This is all on a spectrum. And so talking about it is a little bit of a challenge, because I'm not here to say they absolutely do this, because it's a combination of traits, right? You're not going to have one trait and say, oh, well, they're deceitful, therefore they're a sociopath. You know, a lot of narcissists are too. So the main difference is, from what I'm understanding, is that the sociopath actually enjoy what they're inflicting. All right. So, but I have a whole list of like how a narcissist will behave and how a sociopath will behave. So let's just keep going. Okay. They have sociopath has antisocial behaviors and attitudes and violate social norms. They are the massive boundary pushers. They don't even acknowledge boundaries. They will, they have their own, they may have a moral compass or a moral code that they appear to adhere to, which makes them seem honorable at first. But when you really look at it, it's a very twisted moral code, and it's their own moral code that they're the only ones living by. And they'll stick to it sometimes very sternly, like, I will not cross this line because that's my moral code, which makes them seem like they have one. But actually it's of their own making, and it doesn't fit in with being in a relationship or being around other people in society. Manipulation and deceit, lack of empathy, we talked about that. And there's recklessness and aggressiveness with sociopaths often. Okay, both the narcissist and the sociopathic person could potentially be there to charm in order to engage you. All right. They both tend to have a sense of grandiosity. They both tend to take credit for things in a boastful or even like passive-aggressive boastful sort of way, and then point fingers when there's somewhere to blame because they don't take accountability. So the lack of accountability is present in both. They're both very self-serving. They both lack empathy. And like I said, the narcissist, they lack empathy without, like, people always ask, does the narcissist know they're doing this? Because sometimes it seems like they kind of know, but then it's almost like they don't even know. They're just doing what seems normal, right? They're just doing what's right to them, which is serving their own delusion, right? But the sociopath absolutely knows. They know that what they're doing, they're calculating, all right? There's a sense of entitlement to both. They lack true self-awareness on an emotional level. In other words, they can't take accountability for what they do. They can't even really see that what they're doing. Maybe the sociopath knows how it affects people, but they don't see it in the same way someone would who has self-awareness to the point where they want to make change in their life in order to, elevate their behavior toward other people and themselves. Okay, they can create, what did I say? They can create a delusion of self-serving. Oh, what did I mean there? I don't know what I meant there. Yeah. So they both fake apologies. They'll both create this illusion that they're well, the love bomb and the devalue that can take place with both, obviously. All right. How come mine was like that? Sociopath behavior, enjoying her inflictions and antisocial behavior, but came across as well as being BPD. Again, I don't think we can actually diagnose anyone. We can't. We can't legitimately, or I think that a lot of this has crossover behavior, and it would really take someone to willing to go through diagnosis to have the diagnosis put on them, and they would have to go to someone who's trained to do it. I think that a lot of these behavior. My dogs are nuts. Come here, Rue. Come here, Rue. Come here. I think that a lot of the she's gonna sit with me. A lot of the there can be some traits of each thing, because the personality disorder isn't. It's not like it's one thing that. What am I trying to say here? I'm gonna have to answer that in a different way, and I'm gonna keep going, and maybe it'll answer it. Okay. What are you saying here? Yes, it's not spur of the moment actions. It's over a period of time, right? You're getting confused. What are you getting confused by, Jeep and Gypsy? Let me go through what. Okay, so there's such thing as a malignant narcissist as well. Malignant narcissist has narcissistic personality, if it's a true diagnosis, narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, or sociopathy as a diagnosis, and sadism and aggression. So I think all of my understanding is all of these intertwine. It's all on a spectrum. However, a narcissist that is strictly NPD, say on the lower end of the spectrum, still can be completely toxic and damaging in a relationship because of the self-serving, delusional behavior and beliefs and way of relating, the lack of empathy and the lack of accountability. I mean, you just can't relate with that, right? But there's a whole nother level when you're talking sociopathy. So let's talk about some of the things, let's compare. Let's do some compare and see if it clears it up a little. It was like insecure Jekyll and really bad Hyde. Well, I experienced that too. I don't think we can make accurate diagnosis, nor does it matter. What matters is seeing the behaviors and knowing that to stay clear of them and how to heal from being around it. You were listening to an interview. Life's Journey says, I was listening to an interview and it said that malignant narcs are just one stop before psychopathy. I think, like I said, I think there probably are clinical differences, and we're talking about such obscure things here because, try to describe covert narcissism. It's really hard. It's really hard to describe. I've got 3 or 4 videos, and it takes effort to be able to talk about it, right? It takes having lived around it. Talking about malignant narcissism, I did a whole video on that recently. You can go back and watch. Yeah, and we're talking about obscure behaviors that are real. So what if someone says, no, I didn't, you did? Big deal. You don't understand how much gaslighting that can be in the way it's said, the moment it's said, how it's said, when it's said. It's about timing. It's about the repeated action of the behaviors. It's about the blame shifting, and it's all of the little nuances that how do you explain it? And so I think when we're talking about what are they versus what are they, it's important to understand how a sociopath looks, only so you can avoid it. If you're with someone who's toxic and they have toxic behavior and they are gaslighting you and devaluing you within your relationship, then there is something wrong to begin with. And that's all you really need to, we're not here to fix other people. We're here to live our lives and be the best people we can be and hopefully have healthy relationships within those lives, right? Okay. I think it's mix and match depending on the circumstances and this and that. I think that is correct. And I think that there are so many crossover behaviors is what I'm saying. I think that NPD and BPD can look really similar. It's just then there are some nuances that make it go one way or the other. And it really is within the description. My feeling is it's within the description of how the abuse, how the behaviors are coming across. Does that make sense? And then who knows without a diagnosis? Okay. All right. Hey, Mo Cowboy. Hey, Kira. Isn't there an element of breaking the law with sociopathy? There can be, and that's what I was talking about with what did I say? Well, the lack of social boundaries. The lack of social boundaries, the lack of they break social norms in that way, and that can include things like breaking the law. Risky behavior can be breaking the law. They don't all break the law. Some of them don't. Some of them do. But yes, it is within the criminal system. I think sociopathy is probably high up there with what they would diagnose within there. Anyway, do you think that was the amount of time spent with them, that with the amount of time spent with them and seeing a person without the mask, that we would be pretty good at diagnosing? I think so, but we can't, right? Like, that'd be like someone diagnosing us. Yes, anyone who lives with you can see any amount of neuroses, weird behavior, yeah, whatever. They can see any amount of anything that you're doing and form some educated guess on a diagnosis. And especially with people who have these personality disorders, because there's such distinctive behavioral things that, like, people always say, were you with my narcissist? Were we with the same person? I mean, it's so clearly and so distinct when it's there, right? So yes, I think we probably could, but no, we technically can't, if that makes sense. Okay. Let's go to this list. So if you're talking to a narcissist, straight up NPD, most of the time, not all the time, and again, this is why it's so hard to talk about, because we know that it's not just this list. Like, you go and look up the diagnostic criteria and you're like, well, that's nothing. How could it only be 15 things or however many are on there? No, it's a huge, we have volumes and volumes of videos every day, a different topic about narcissism. How can it just be those few things? It's not. It's a way bigger picture than what's painted in the diagnostics. So mostly because of how it affects you. So in general, talking to a narcissist, their talk will be of themselves. They will redirect things back to self. They will self-focus and self-direct. Sociopath will want to talk about you. They will groom you by wanting to talk about you. A narcissist will groom you most of the time by luring you into their world. Sociopath will want to infiltrate your world. They will want to know everything about you. They will focus it towards you because they're grooming you, and they're putting their feelers out for any vulnerabilities and weaknesses they can later use against you. And yes, what we call narcissists also can do that as well. But from what I understand, it is more common with sociopathy. It is less common for them to be self-talking. So that's not to say a narcissist can't also groom you that way. All right. It is confusing. It's hard to talk about because, yeah, they both do both. And also it's more, if someone is leaning, always talking about you, luring you in with some weird seductive thing about pulling you, a lot of people don't see sociopathy right at first. A lot of people don't see the sociopath because they are really good at hiding it. My feeling on covert narcissism is that okay, I'm not a scientist. This is just from what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've actually witnessed. My feeling is that the covert narcissist seems to tend more towards these behaviors. And maybe we're just calling it two different things when it's one. I don't know. I think that the lack of risky behavior is the one thing that I personally didn't see with a malignant narcissist. A malignant narcissist that I know he's a malignant narcissist from my own knowing, not from diagnosis. Doesn't really matter. But the point was, I didn't see a whole lot of risky behavior until I looked at subtle things. And then I realized there was a ton. It just wasn't risky like breaking laws. It was breaking moral codes or social laws within a family, or rules within a community, or not wanting to follow and like thinking they're above the law. Basically, it's like thinking you're above the law. Sure, I'll follow the law because I have to, because I don't want to get arrested, but I'm above it. So if there's any chance to not, then they wouldn't. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. It's like they're constantly trying to steer you here and there, your mind and beliefs and actions, everything, every interaction. Yes. So Mo Cowboy, what are you saying here? There's also showing brain changes fast. Yeah, exactly. And I can't talk about that because I don't have the info in front of me to go on about it. But yes. Oh, you guys are talking. That's why you're talking about it. Okay, so next thing. Much of my knowledge of narcissism was having lived with and observing his behavior, your father, for so many years. Right. Right. We really become the experts from living with it and living around it, because our lives become about, when we stop walking on eggshells and trying to appease the narcissist or the sociopath or the toxic person, whatever. When we stop doing that, we're in a more observant mode, and we're trying then to manage down. And so our lives become about managing the world around us so that we are mitigating and hopefully diffusing any abuse, right? So we learn a ton about the behavior because of that, unfortunately. Okay, so a narcissist, when you are their supply, will want to be perceived well. They will want to be, and someone with NPD wants to be seen as the hero, the savior, the most amazing. You will honor and adore me, or else, that kind of thing. But the difference here, a sociopath may also want that, but what they also want is to be seen as what best fits the situation. So this is the thing that tipped me over to thinking that what I was dealing with was a malignant narcissist or potentially a sociopath. And I know he was diagnosed with ASD as a young adult. So there's that. So I'm going on somewhat medically diagnosed information here with this particular person. But what he said was, when he meets people for the first time, in particular women, he paints a picture that he knows will suit the situation so that he can create the relationship he wants based on what he is teaching that person to believe about him. He said he puts it on like a lens, and that person will see him through that lens always. Because the first impression that you have and the first few weeks of impressions that you have are the ones that stick. Okay, so he knew exactly what he was doing. He was cunning and calculating about it, and he created situations where what he wanted was to be seen as what was best for the situation for the outcome he was trying to create. He does it with work, he does it with friends, he does it with family, and he does it when he searches for supply. So that is a sociopathic behavior. A narcissist is like, hey, I'm so great. Don't you think so? Yes, I'm so great. And everyone thinks so. So of course you think so. And you're charmed into it because they are just so charming. Or something similar where it is their ego is very fragile around that being perceived as great. Whereas a sociopath might allow themselves to be seen as something else, something weaker, something less, something whatever, in order to suit the situation, so that then you are fully in there believing everything. And, you're groomed at that point to believe what they present themselves out as truth. All right. And that's why it's so difficult to see them at first. And a lot of people, like they say, it can take up to a year to 2 years to see a sociopath, from what I've heard. So, okay, let's keep going. Okay, so here's back to the law breaking. Narcissists will ignore some of the rules out of lack of awareness. Okay, so it's not lack of awareness like we think of, like, I didn't know. It's almost like, because they don't have empathy, why would they be aware? If it's not serving them, why would they even think about it? It's that kind of lack of awareness. It's well, I didn't even think of that. Why would they think of it if it isn't something serving their life? or serving their purpose or their function, right? And whereas a sociopath rule breaks to manipulate, and they rule break and break laws and do that to gain and to because they're above it all and they know it. All right. You're so scared of grooming. I actually don't want to meet anyone for fear of not being able to decide if I'm being groomed or not. Well, I should do another one on grooming and how to relate to people so that you are staying within your own self and not letting it take over. That would be a good one. Okay. Right. It's okay. So we're going to keep going here. A narcissist with NPD, especially on the lower end of the spectrum, they have less awareness of their behavior's effect on other people. I don't think they believe the gaslighting, but I think they can convince. It's like when you can fully convince yourself of a lie. If you've ever done that in your life, I think everyone's done it at least once, right? Where you fully convince yourself that something isn't happening. It's almost like they create their own sense of cognitive dissonance within themselves so that they don't have to face whatever it is that they are should be aware of with their behavior, and they'll blame shift and point it back at the other person. But it's not an awareness like I didn't know. Again, it's an awareness of, well, that doesn't serve me, so of course it's not affecting that situation in that way. I mean, yeah, and while they may know they're hurting people, they may think that you're the one manipulating by your tears. And they may actually legitimately think that because they are so self-absorbed and self-involved. Whereas a sociopath is fully aware and they use it for gain. So when they are when they are manipulating and they are abusing with their toxic behavior, they are fully aware that they are doing so. They know what it does to people and they're using it to gain. How could they do that? They don't have empathy. They don't care. Okay. All right. What are we saying here? She would feel excited and energized by breaking the law. It was fun to her. Mine did things and made out she didn't know. Example, stormed out of an important meeting I was having and then asked if she messed up and was sorry. I realized it was intentional. Yes. Okay. All right. So another thing is a narcissist is preoccupied with their pride, being admired and being, what did I say here? Well, the admiration. They're preoccupied with that. I cannot. Whereas a sociopath is preoccupied with winning. It's always a competition, a winning, a one-upping, a being better than. Yes, narcissists have a sense of grandiosity, so they will do that to a degree. With a sociopath, it's always there. Okay. What did I say here? Sociopaths tend to like high stimulus situations. They like to, again, the thrill seeking, where the narcissist may or may not. What percentage of the population do you think have NPD? It seems I have no idea. I wouldn't even know how to begin answering that. I think everyone has narcissistic traits. That's pretty well known. But when it becomes a disorder, a personality disorder, I wouldn't know what the answer is of what the percentage is. It seems like there are an awful lot of people who do display a very, very low level of empathy, if any. And but I don't know what the percentage is. She said self-assuredly and insisted she had high expectations. 50% would have. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't even know how could we know that even if there's no one getting diagnosed, right? How many narcissists are out there, sociopaths are like, please tell me what's wrong with me. They don't think anything's wrong with them. So why would they, yeah. What you've heard it's 1 in 25 is a sociopath. I have no idea. I wouldn't even know how to answer that from a scientific or from a factual standpoint. I can just say there's a lot of toxic people out there, a lot of people with, no accountability to their own actions. Okay. Narcissists tend to be bullies, and uh, they tend to be, um, if they don't get their way, they have a fit. If they push you into breaking boundaries, they'll bully you. They'll, in their devaluing, they can be demeaning and um, minimizing and all of that. Whereas a sociopath is cunning and strategic in their takedowns. They take their time sometimes and they manipulate situations to have someone fail or fall, right? They're very cunning with it. It's not the reactive bullying of a narcissist, it's the cunning, predatory takedown of someone who, if you've ever seen one in a workplace, right? That's the cunning takedown instead of they're thinking about it, they're strategizing. So that's a big difference. What are we saying here? Their intent behind this. Yeah. Okay. I have one more thing here. So a narcissist sometimes will work for approval, and I think that's sometimes what people are seeing with the love bombing and the devaluing. When they'll say it makes no sense, why are they doing this? They don't want the abandonment either. They don't want to be discarded. They want to be the one in charge of where that relationship is going. And so a lot of times a narcissist will do things, the way that they love bomb will be things that actually do take some effort to, like, why did they put in so much? People have said that, like, why did they put in so much effort for this if they were only going to sabotage it 10 minutes later? That's a lot of effort to put in for that. Whereas a sociopath will manipulate in the easiest and simplest way possible with the least amount of effort. I thought that was interesting. So that's what I got here for this. I don't think I have more on this page. I do not. I stopped here because I thought that's a lot to talk about, and this is a dark topic. So let's go back to malignant narcissism if I can find it in here. I have a bunch of notes on it. Because I think more likely what we're seeing than like straight up sociopath, you think of serial killer, right? Or you think of criminal, or you think of straight up. That's what my mind thinks of anyway. Hang on, I'm gonna find it. I should have marked it and I didn't. I'm gonna keep talking here. Keep talking. So what are you guys saying? Although, okay, any questions about what we were talking about? And actually, you guys, if you ever have anything of your own that you want to go off topic with, feel free to ask anything you need. I got to find this. It's in here in this very full. I always laugh because if anyone found my journals, they're just full of talk of toxicity, as if that's all I think about in my life. It's not, but I do write a lot about it. Okay. Oh, come on. Come on. It's in here. Okay. All right. All right, you guys. So if I can't find this, then we'll just end there. But if I can, then I will talk about a little about malignant narcissism. Where'd it go? Should have done this ahead of time, and I didn't because I didn't think about it. But then I remembered. You have a question about my mom? Yes, go for it. You ask the question while I'm doing this, and we'll just sit here a second and have uncomfortable silence while I'm looking through a notebook for something because I didn't pull it. This is the way it goes. Okay, it's got to be here. Toxic shame. I could read you all the topics I've done. Validation, the mask. Whoa. I want to find it because it had all kinds of good info about malignant narcissism, and it relates to this topic. I'm waiting for Shoshi. Anybody else too? Narcs are dumbed down by the version of psychos and psychopaths. Okay. She invited me on an 8-day river cruise, and I don't know if she's a narc or not, but she's extremely narcissistic. Okay. What is your, I'm going to wait and see if you had more on that before I jump in here. I can't find it, you guys. Oh, so sad. All right, one more check. And then that's it. And then I give up. Okay. Anything you guys want to talk about this week as well? Thursday or Friday? Let me know. And I will try to get to it. I have a couple topics that people suggested that I need to get to as well. So now I'm leaning toward not going. You're just discovering this about your mom, or you're just now coming to the point where you are having a hard time dealing with it? Yes, I'm looking for it. Want to find it. I'm going to find it as soon as we end, and then I'll be like, "Ugh, forget it." All right. But she lured me good because of it, because it's in Europe. Can you tell us Robert Harris checklist? Just, you want me to go find a checklist? I don't have a checklist. I can read it if you want to type it, because I don't have it in front of me. And that would be more sitting here looking for something I don't have in front of me. I'm going to find this. I'm totally going to find it. I can't imagine it was this long ago, but maybe it was that I did that. What? It's totally gone. Why? Where is it? Oh well. I just don't know quite how to deal with this. I've had an idea in the last 3 years, but I'm just now having so much anger. I mean, what is I'd ask you, what do you want from the relationship? Are you thinking of going no contact? I think she would trigger me too much to go. I think if you're having that reaction now, you're probably telling yourself something and you already know the answer. And you already know how this is going to turn out based on your experience and what you're feeling about it right now. Right? That's a long time to be trapped with someone when you can't get away from them and go do your own thing. And it's almost not worth the prize, right? Okay. I think you kind of, I'd be trapped on a boat, right? I think you're answering your own question here, that you're seeing toxic behavior and that she is going to trigger you to that point. I can't tell you whether to go or not go, but trapped. But look at how you wrote that, trapped. So I guess you have to ask yourself, what? Is this something I wish to do knowing I'm going to be trapped? Is this something I can handle? What do I want from it? Agree with Lise. I've had that type of scenario all too often, never usually works out. Right. It's kind of, I don't think you can change it. I mean, you can try and appease her the entire time and do everything she says, and you'd be miserable that way too. So you can't turn it into something it isn't, which would be a pleasant cruise, right? So now I need to figure out how to say no. She's already bought your ticket, or how is it playing out? I would just say I mean, it depends what you want from the relationship. Are you ready to alter the way that you're relating to her, or are you, like, where are you at with it? I'm still looking for this. I'm determined, and I'm not finding it. I don't know why, because I want to find it. So yeah, okay. So sorry, this one kind of, forget it. I'm done. Okay. All right. So we're done with talking about sociopaths for now. Anything else you guys want to talk about today? I don't want to travel with malignant narcissists, not even in the car. They rage a lot. Yeah, they do. My mom, yeah. No, we never made a solid plans yet. So, I mean, I would just tell her, you're not able to go. I'm not able to go. That isn't going to work out for me. Yeah. I mean, why do you have to, what is your fear in setting the boundary about whether or not you will or won't go on a vacation? You have a right to choose where you go and what you do, right? So I'm wondering if I found it. Ha ha. Okay, malignant narcissist. I found it. was looking in the wrong journal. All right, you guys. So let's go quickly over what malignant narcissism is. Sorry about the weird break if you've been there for while I was looking, but found it. So let's go quickly over what malignant narcissism is. Shit, she will discard me. Ugh. It's a bigger picture than just the trip, isn't it? Because you're talking about the whole relationship. And yes, when we see, but what do you want? What do you want from it? What do you want from the relationship? What do you feel is possible from it? Setting boundaries with a parent shouldn't cause them to discard you. And if it does, is that really a bad thing? That's my question. Is it better to have minimal contact with someone like that or none? I don't, that's only you know that for your life. Okay, so malignant narcissism. All right, it's a combination of narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, aggression, and sadism. There is often paranoia present. Okay. I've been good at her low contact lately. So maybe, what are you really afraid of with it? Let me ask you this way. I'm not talking to you in person, so I don't know. Is there a belief or something in you that you are really afraid of if you say no, when you place a boundary with her? What does it make you feel? And that might be where the bigger question is, and where you can actually have control. What do you have control over here? Yes and no. That's your choice. And how you direct your beliefs about yourself. The programming is there. You can change the way the programming is affecting you and change it into something that allows you to have boundaries without the fear of having boundaries. So this is kind of like a big thing, isn't it? To say no to this. All right. And malignant narcissists. So we know the NPD. I'm just going to read quickly. NPD traits, or NPD diagnostic primary traits: delusions of grandeur, no empathy, belief in their own superiority, take advantage of others for gain, envy, the need for attention is high, recognition and admiration as well, intense sense of self-importance, entitlement, and arrogant behavior. Those are the major diagnostic traits. Antisocial personality disorder, the major traits, we went over them with sociopathy, but we'll do it again. They have a disdain for authority. There's a pattern of deceit, reckless, impulsive behavior, no remorse, general hostility, aggression, irritability, and agitation. They're irresponsible, arrogant, disrespectful behavior. All right. Aggression, obviously, injuring, damaging property, or emotional aggression. It doesn't have to be physical aggression. I would throw in there extreme passive aggressive as well. Sadism, enjoys hurting others, enjoys watching others have pain. Sexual arousal from seeing pain or from inflicting pain. They fantasize about hurting others even if they don't do so. A sadist will want to hurt when irritable or angry. They enjoy humiliating. They have aggression towards others sometimes. They don't always have aggression. Sometimes they just play it out in their heads, but they enjoy it. They behave in controlling, domineering, and dominant sort of ways. So yeah, that's the malignant narcissist right there. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, what are we saying here? My dog is starting to be scared of the narc in the car too. Oh, yeah. Yeah, dogs know. Oh, doggy shakes. I can say I struggle with that too. A fear of saying no to mom. She would abandon me. I had to cut off emotionally, not care anymore, not care about the relationship. That's just it. We have to analyze and evaluate. Well, we have to evaluate the relationships in our lives for what they're bringing to our lives. Yeah, mine too, Jack. Um, and how healthy the relationship itself is and can be based on everybody's level of accountability toward one's own emotional state. All right. Web education. What confuses me to this day is she had so many of these traits, but has said something is wrong with me and I don't know what. This may not be the best relationship for you. She said that early. Almost all give you a tell like that. That's really common for a narcissist or someone that falls into any of these narcissist or a malignant narc or whatever, that yeah, they will say something's wrong. I'm not good in relationship. I'm not good for you. I'm not, yeah. hmm but it's usually said in a way that makes you think, why would you even say that? Of course you are. You just haven't had anyone who loves you. You just haven't had anyone care for you, right? Yeah, it's said it's about the timing and the placement of these types of phrases. It's not like you're like, hey, let's go out to dinner, and they sat you down. They said, I need to talk to you about something. I am a person that has something wrong with them, and I am no good in relationship, and I need you to understand that. Do you understand me? Are you willing to accept the consequences? They don't do it like that. It's done in a way where they're the victim, they've been hurt, they're right about to have an argument, and then they're trying to steer it toward their own supply that they're gaining. So yeah, it's cunning. Okay. All right. She had a certain amount of awareness to know she had an issue. Yes, indeed. And when they say that, and when you say that, and then go for them, green flag for them. Uh-huh. Okay, so that's it, you guys. I'm out. I'm talked out of this. I want to talk about something positive next time, or something about healing. What can we talk about? What do you want to hear about next week or this week? Oh, I have written down. I've got several things. Why are they so jealous? Is that what you're typing? It's good to see you again as well, Web Education. Or not see you, but see your name. Okay. Is that what you're asking? Why are they so jealous? Well, because they need to be the center of the world. If somebody else is getting attention, or if your attention is going somewhere else, that means that your focus is not back on them and they're not gaining the supply they need, because they know their sense of grandiosity is a mask. And underneath it, they do not have a sense of grandiosity. It's, that's the whole Wizard of Oz thing, when the man behind the great wizard, and then it's just a little guy, that's their reality. And so if somebody else got center stage or has your attention or your focus, or even if it's super, it doesn't even have to be that much focus going somewhere else. If they're feeling like they're not a part of it, they're not the main show, so to speak, then they don't have anything, because there's nothing inside them to hold themselves up. So yeah, let's talk about forging Post-it. I don't understand. I think there's a typo in there that I'm trying to translate. Relationships with healthy boundaries. Okay. You want to talk about forging relationships with healthy boundaries? Is that what you're saying? It's like a toddler that wants what someone else has. Someone picks up the other toy the toddler isn't playing with, and then they freak out. That's mine. Give it back. Exactly. Plus, it's the controlling and the ownership. Positive relationships. Sure. Do you have questions about positive relationships? I talk about them a lot, so some questions or some direction would be helpful to me to know how to help you. How to have them, how to know you're seeing them, how to look for them. I don't know what direction you want to take that. Um, they can't easily unsee what is behind the curtain. No, and it's the only way they can unsee it is by controlling other people and controlling situations and making the delusional world that they set up be the reality. That's the thing. If they live in a delusion of what their reality is, of what reality is, but it's based on their own ego, that everything should revolve around them, which isn't anybody's real reality. That's delusional to think the world revolves around you and your ego and you're protecting yourself, and that the whole world is going to take accountability for you and you don't have to do any of it. That's completely delusional. So in order to protect the fact that that delusion isn't a reality, they have to take control of other people and force that delusion into being a reality. Does that make sense? The stages of healing journey as a topic. Okay. Is this malignancy? Husband is mad at neighbor who wants to build on his home. Neighbor also lied about it. Husband is going to a meeting to counter it. He's saying, I can't wait to see his face. That's bullying for sure. I don't know if it's malignancy. It's a whole lot of things. I mean, you heard the list. It's not just how they act in one. So that could be just somebody really mad and feeling entitled and feeling like they're going to bully and they can't wait to see the face. But it also could be sadistic. Like, ooh, I actually can't wait to see their face because that will be fun. I can't wait. I get off on that. So it's hard to know what the intent is. Okay. All right. You wouldn't relish in a neighbor's distress. No. I mean, but, right? It's entirely possible. He sounds sadistic. Okay, then it's possible. It's possible there's some malignant narcissism there. I don't know. I mean, again, we can't diagnose, but sadistic in itself is very ugly to live with. So yeah, they are delusional, yes, and they force you to believe it and buy into their false reality. They do. They force you to believe it. They force you to live it. And when you start waking up and you come out of the fog and you start behaving like an individual human being and living their own life or living a life that isn't serving the narcissist delusion, that's when that's when they'll either start discarding or they will rage or they need it all. They need to control it all and they need it to be as they say it is. That's why you just can't live with them. That's why there's no fixing it, because there's nothing to fix. Their way is the only way, and that's the way it is in their world. So, okay. How about talking about great movies and shows we've seen, things we've done that have nothing to do with thinking about narcissism? I could do that some point. Should do that on a weekend. Fun day. Okay. All right. I'm going to head out, you guys. Then the malignant narc freaks out when you see behind the curtain. Oh my gosh, did they freak out, right? Uh-huh. He used to tell me he liked causing pain. He got off on pain. He got off on hurting people, not so much pain physically. I think he liked pushing things to the point of pain and then seeing how far he could poke at it. But then he would say it like, is that bad? You know, like, oh, like all cutesy. Is that wrong? Oh, yeah, it kind of is. I don't know. It really is. Not kind of. Uh-huh. Okay, with popcorn. Okay. All right, you guys. If you've not already hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up. I will be back on a less chaotic day, Thursday, I hope. This has been one of those weeks here already, and it's Tuesday. And yeah, so that's it. If you want texting notification, text me at 33222. Put the word Lise Live, LISELIVE, hit send, and I will text you about 10 minutes prior to being live. I'll be here usually Mondays. I haven't been lately, but like I said, I'm trying. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Sometime in the morning or early afternoon Pacific time. In the future, can we talk about what happens when the narcissist realizes you are waking up? I Yes. That's a kind of a spin on when the mask slips. It's the other way around, when the fog clears. I like it. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, I like it. Uh-huh, we'll do that. Okay, oh, Dangerous Old Woman was great, thank you. Yay, isn't it? The entire series is so good. There's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them. So good. Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Uh, yes, when the mask slips, but it's the other side of when the mask slips. It's when the fog lifts, when our fog lifts, and not only are you seeing them, but you're seeing the whole situation. And then what? Okay. All right. Good one. I will talk to you guys Thursday. You have a good tomorrow, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.